Welcome to Sounding Board. This is a weekly program completely produced and directed by club members of Seroptimus International of Novato. We've been doing this for 20 years, would you believe that? And we enjoy it immensely. So the mission of the organization is to help improve the lives of women and girls, both locally and globally. Well, I'm a recently retired instructor, and to me, education is close to my heart. I have a friend, Catherine Nam, who I invited because to be here today because she is a teacher, and I think she's is quite a unique instructor with some very clever things going on in the classroom. Catherine Nam is a 4th grade teacher at Rancho Elementary right here in Novato. I didn't even know this, even though I've been a friend of hers for quite some time. I didn't even realize that the Rotary Club gave her the 2010-2011 Teacher of the Year Award. Catherine reaches out to teach, to provide workshops for teachers and parents on how to use technology for students. I think that's just really a nice thing, Catherine. She's also certified to teach GATE in the GATE program, which is gifted and talented students. She also has 2 wonderful kids right here, her own children, of course, right here in the Novato public school system, which I think is fabulous. And Catherine is a very active and competitive athlete. Whoa, that is so cool, Catherine. So Catherine has sort of nicknamed her philosophy in the classroom as the whole, teaching to the whole student. So Catherine, what all does that mean, teaching to the whole student? Let's start right there.
Well, usually when we think of school and academics, we think of reading, writing, and math. True. And that's very important. But I believe that for students to be the most successful academically, they need to have healthy bodies too. So they need to be physically fit and eat well and exercise. So I take that approach into my classroom. We do a lot of movement in my classroom, and I try and model some of the things that I like the students to do in their lives as well. My students, when they walk in the door, I have one goal for them every day, and that is I want you to leave smarter than you came in. And that's all they have to do. But my job as a teacher is to provide an environment so that they can leave smarter. And I do that in lots of different ways in the classroom.
Well, I know you're a very energetic person, a very positive person, so I'm sure the students pick up on that too, don't they?
They do, and they buy right into it. And our classroom has a lot of games are going on in my classroom. And often when the students get a little tired, maybe it's right before recess or it's in the afternoon, and I can see all the students, their energy is waning and their eyes start to glass over a little bit.
Not in your classroom.
Oh,
no,
it happens.
No.
I'll say, all right, everybody, stand up. We're going to take a boot camp break.
Boot camp. Boot camp is what you call it, huh?
Boot camp, just like when we go to work out at the gym. So I've incorporated that into my classroom as well.
So what happens with a boot camp? So they all stand up in unison and they go, oh no, Mrs. Nom, I don't want to do boot camp.
No, they all go, yes.
Yes.
They do. And so I divide it. We have lots of different games. Really, you have to make everything fun. And when they're moving around and having fun, it moves the energy around, and then it allows them to focus better and be better students.
Right.
So for a boot camp break, when I see we just need a couple of minutes, I'll have them stand up, and sometimes we do it in the classroom, and sometimes we'll go outside. So for example, one of the boot camp breaks that I do is I'll divide the class in half, and I'll have little cards, and on the cards are tasks that they have to do. So they might have to flip over a card and do 10 jumping jacks. And then they'd flip over another card, and it might say 5 push-ups.
Ooh.
So I'm incorporating
push-ups on the ground?
Oh yeah, push-ups on the ground. And I teach them how to do a perfect push-up.
Ooh, no swaybacks.
No. So they're divided into 2 groups. And the thing is, they have to do it as a group. So as a group, they need to do 10 jumping jacks, for example.
All in unison?
All not in unison, but they can't move on to the next task card until everyone in the group is finished.
Okay.
So it also provides camaraderie and team building.
Okay.
They get extra little accolades if they're cheering their team on, like, come on, you can do it, you're doing great. So there'll be 5 different cards with push-ups and jumping jacks and maybe high knees or burpees, which are burpees are
excuse me,
they're like a jumping jack with a push-up.
Oh, okay.
Involved.
I should know that.
Yeah, and it takes about 5 minutes. And they'll do all the exercises, and at the end of the 5 minutes in my classroom, you'll hear everyone going, their energy is moving around, their heart is beating faster, and the energy level has risen.
Do they come right back into the classroom?
Oh, this is one that we do in the classroom. So they can do it at their desks.
Oh, I see.
They just kind of move around the desks and do it right there. So on a rainy day, this is perfect to do. And then what I find when I do these boot camp breaks, right afterwards, the students can sit down and focus so much better. That was one of the aha moments I had one time. We were going to take a math test, and I said, hey, you know what? Before we take this math test, we need to get our energy moving. So let's go outside, and I gave them a little task to run to one of our fences and back, and they had to touch the fence and then skip back to me. Oh. So they ran out there and they skipped back and they walked in the classroom and it was dead silent.
Really?
They sat down at their desks and they started doing their math test.
I'm impressed.
Yes, and you know, I don't think I would have believed it if I hadn't seen it. And so that made me realize what I was starting to do was really help them focus, move their energy, and become healthier at the same time.
Right, that's true.
So,
that's true.
Yeah.
Interesting. I have to say on the side there that I have done some little quick breaks with adults in a classroom because teaching adults, and I did have them sometimes just stand up and walk around the classroom because on a hot afternoon, if the air conditioning was broken or something like that, it was deadly to get through a class, you know.
Right.
So I would have them walk around. But sometimes they would get a little bit too talkative, and it was real hard to kind of calm them down. So I'm really quite impressed that they would pay attention and really focus. But maybe they, you know, that was part of the routine and they were used to that routine.
I think so, part of the expectation. And then, you know, they got good at starting to ask me for it. So in the beginning, I would say, okay, let's take a boot camp break. And then as the year went on, the students would say, can we have a boot camp break? We haven't had a boot camp break in a while. Can we go run before this test? And they would, they knew it. They could feel that it helped their energy.
Huh?
Excuse me?
They wouldn't abuse you for that. I mean, they wouldn't abuse the opportunity to do that.
No, not at all. No.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You mentioned also another interesting teaching technique that you have for 4th graders, which surprised me, was goal setting.
That's a huge.
Talk about that.
Thank you. That's a huge part of our classroom. You know, one of the things that I think that's so important for students and people in general, adults, we have to set goals for ourselves because we're always trying to be better. No matter who we are, we want to be better. And how do we do that? We set a goal and we work towards the goal. So that's also a very big part of the whole student in my classroom. So starting from the very first month they come in, I work on teaching them how to set goals. And it's not easy. In the beginning, when I say, well, let's think about a goal you have for the school year, most of the students will say, well, I want to do better in math.
Right, and then how is that measurable? How do you know when you've achieved it, right?
Right, so then I have to teach them, how do you write a goal? How do you write a goal with something that you can specifically look at and see if you achieved it?
Yeah.
So I guide them a lot in the very beginning of the year. So we might, as a class, everyone might have some sort of reading goal. And they write it out on their desk. They'll say, my September reading goal is... And they write what their goal is. And then they also have to write how they're going to achieve their goal. So if their goal is to read 10, or take 10 AR tests, which is a reading program that we have, and you read a book and take a test, they will say, I can achieve my goal by reading 30 minutes a night, or reading 2 books a week, so that they know what they have to do to get to their goal. And then at the end of the month, if they achieve their goal, they stand up in class and they read their goal to the class. And then I have a little bulletin board for every month. It'll say I made my September goal, I made my October goal. And they go and they put that goal that they've written on a little index card and they staple it or tape it up to the wall. So it's there for the entire year.
Now, what about students doing too easy goals? I mean, is making a goal that they know for sure, I want to do a slam dunk here. I want to make a goal that would be easy.
Yes, that's, you know, we have a lot of discussions around that. What is a good goal? A good goal is something that's not easy to achieve. And it's maybe a little bit above something that's, that you might easily do. So we talk about trying to stretch yourself and take a risk. And try something a little bit hard for yourself. So it should not be easy to do. So for example, if you're a math whiz and you say, okay, I want my goal to be to memorize my multiplication facts up to the 12s, and you already know them, that's not a good goal for you. But then on the other hand, if you're someone who maybe struggles with math, that also is not a good goal for you because it's harder to achieve. So we really talk a lot about individual goals, and your goal is for you, not for Joe Schmo sitting next to you. It's your goal, and don't worry about what other people are doing.
Now we know that you've set an example with goal setting, a tremendous goal that you had personally this year, which I know about.
Yes, so not only do I try and have my kids lead healthy lifestyles, but I try and model how to lead a healthy lifestyle. And I'm an Ironman triathlete.
I think that is incredible. You did your first one this year?
It was my third, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh
I've done 3.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. So this year I did an Ironman in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and that consists of a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and then a marathon.
Oh my gosh. And a marathon is how many miles?
26.2.
26 miles of running.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That would be like running from here to Petaluma and back. Oh, just a simple little thing.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So what I do is I use that example daily through my teaching. First of all, I show them my big goal, my end goal of completing the Ironman, and I even had a goal time that I was working towards. But that's such a huge goal. When you set goals, sometimes you need to set little benchmarks along the way so that you can make sure that you're on the right track to meeting your goal. So I will show the kids, okay, here's my monthly goal. And I'll put it up on the board for them. And
which is one of the benchmarks, basically.
Yes, yeah. And I'll put it up, and I'll have them follow me throughout the month. And so maybe my goal for that month was to run 100 miles or whatever it was. And at the end of the month, they'll ask me, Mrs. Mom, did you make your goal? And then I'll have to show them.
Do you read your goal and they all applaud and you put it up on the board?
I didn't do that. Maybe this year I will. I think that's a good idea.
That would be fun.
But yeah, but I wanted to show them how I set my goals too. And you know, we talked about, as we get into it, we were talking about academic goals in the beginning, but I also work with the students on setting personal goals. So it's not just with reading, writing, and math. You can set goals for, example, like a social goal. I want to make a new friend this month. Or someone who's really shy, my goal is to raise my hand 5 times every day. And I've had some students make those goals and achieve them. And
does the whole class know about their goals, those personal goals?
They know about them at the end if they read them aloud. But otherwise, they're not hidden, but they're not public like that, except I do have the students, every student puts their goal that they've written on an index card on their desk, and it's taped to their desk for the month. And the reason why I do this is because what I found, personally, when I make goals, if I don't have them in front of me, and I put them in the drawer in the file cabinet, they're not, I forget about them. So having it visually in front of me every day helps me stay on track with my goal. So I have the students do that, and they have them on their desks as well.
So are there any challenges with students becoming frustrated in meeting these goals? Do they get kind of discouraged sometimes?
Yeah, that can happen, especially if you have a goal that you're really working towards. One of the things I try and do is help them monitor their goals. So they're during the month, and they get good at asking me too. For example, if they're making reading goals and their points are on the computer, they'll come up and say, how many points do I have? How many points do I have? So they're, first of all, starting to monitor themselves to reach their goals. And when they do get challenged and frustrated, the most important thing is a positive attitude and confidence. And I think that grows throughout the year. So if they can have those things inside themselves, and with a positive attitude, I like to have them think of a mantra. And a mantra is something that you say over and over to yourself. And I use mantras when I do my Ironman, and because sometimes during the Ironman race, it's it's a very, very long race, and you go through highs and lows, and you know that you want to reach your end goal, but there's a point where you want to stop and you do want to give up. So how do you get past that? And that's where the mantra comes in. So, for example, one of my mantras in Ironman is 1 step forward, 1 step forward, 1 step forward. And I just keep saying that over and over until I get over the hard part. So I have the kids come up with their own mantras. I can do this. I can do this. Or
something like that.
Or I had one girl, I actually used this this year. One of my students made me a poster before I went to the Ironman. And on the poster they had a lot of really nice things, but she wrote, Mrs. Nom, you got this. And you know what? I used that in my Ironman. I thought, that's a great one. You got this. And they can do it with their math facts or whatever their goal is, whatever they're trying to work through.
Cool. Very, very nice. Good. Well, we've talked about goals and we've talked about boot camp breaks, but what about the rest of this whole student and that you're trying to get to?
Well, so we talked, exactly. So the mind and the body work very well together. So having a healthy body helps move the energy around, helps you so that you can focus in class. And one of the things to have a healthy body is healthy living, which includes drinking lots of water. And I highly encourage
I just
students.
took a sip. That was
Oh, very good. You're healthy. So I highly encourage students to drink as much water as they can. And I let them have water bottles at their desks so that when they need a sip, they can take a sip. And I have my water bottle here with me, and I keep this with me all the time. It goes with me wherever I go. So they're seeing me drink water. I start leaving it around the school as we go, because sometimes I'll put it down. And then the students will say, oh, Mrs. Nom, here's your water bottle. Oh, I found your water bottle in the computer lab. So they recognize my bottle too. But yeah, so drinking water, it just helps everything. And there is that fine line between drinking too much water and then having to go to the bathroom. So sometimes we have to have those conversations as well. But I think that's the very most important thing you can do. And another thing that I try and model in class is healthy eating. So often I'll leave my snack that I have on my desk. And
now this is your snack from break or a snack? Like
my snack.
Lunch,
yeah, my snack at recess.
Oh, recess break. Okay.
So I'll just have that out on my desk. So without even saying anything, I'm modeling for the students good habits. And they'll. And
what would a snack be for you?
Cherry tomatoes and carrots, or a cup of blueberries. Sometimes I have nuts in a baggie. So I'll just leave those on my desk. Snap peas, I love snap peas. And the kids, every once in a while, will see me eating if they're in the classroom at recess or they're walking by. And I think one of my favorite comments last year was they came by and they were like, oh, Mrs. Nom, I have the same snack as you. And that was really, really neat. And then I have instances where one day I brought beet chips. They're these beet chips. They're dried beets, and then they're salted a little bit. And I had those on my desk, and the students came over and they said, what is that? And I said, oh, it's a dried beet chip. Would you like to try one? And they did. And then they asked me, well, where can you get these? And so I just like being a good role model that way, and hopefully they can also eat healthy at home.
Now, sometimes in classrooms, teachers give candy as rewards, and I know I've seen some instructors, you know, toss candy, hard candies or something too. What's your feeling on that?
You know, I actually think everything in moderation is okay. And I use hard candy as well, not all the time, but there are a lot of different ways to reward children besides using food.
Yeah, I think our society is, well, that's a whole different.
Yeah, that could be a whole show.
Right.
But, you know, really, what we want to do is not reward them extrinsically, but get them to be rewarded intrinsically. So, you know, we have the rewards. They like stickers. They like, you know, earning high fives where they can get tickets for prizes. But some of the best rewards are not those. So I have a couple things that I use to reward kids. We do raise the roof. If somebody does something and it's really cool, we raise the roof. Oh. And everyone in the class, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Okay, raise the roof. And they raise the roof. And you get that movement in there too.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's a really good reward. Cool. Another reward I like to do is, and when something, they just come up with a really amazing connection or thought, we go, ooh. And it sounds kind of weird, but when you get the whole class going, ooh, like, that's really cool, it feels good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And, you know, it helps them want to take more risks. And then the last reward that I give, they might not think it's a reward, but it really is. Sometimes they'll say, well, I'll do this, but what do I get? And I said, well, did you get smarter? And then they're like, yes. And I said, well, good job. You know, because sometimes what I want them to realize is like that's the reward, the learning, that thirst for knowledge is really the reward, not the extra stickers and candy, which are fun too, you know.
Good. Well, for parents at home and the viewing audience, what suggestions do you have to help support this effort to grow the whole student, or to help reinforce maybe what you're talking about, or maybe with another instructor who isn't doing this, but what could they do at home to kind of reinforce this concept?
Well, you know, family and school need to work really closely together. And so anything you can do at home to help better your student and be more healthy is fabulous. So for example, one of the biggest things I see is the lack of sleep. And you know, it's hard. Our students are very overscheduled. Once they leave school, they're going on to music and dance and sports, and a lot of them aren't eating dinner until late and then going to bed, and they come to school tired. And
what is enough sleep?
I would say for a 4th grader, at least 10 hours of sleep.
10 hours of sleep. Ooh, that is hard, isn't it?
It is. It is. And as a parent, I know it's really hard. But I see a huge difference in the school, in the students. The ones, they come and their heads are down, and it just is not optimal learning for them. So the more sleep that they can get, the better. Wow. And being with your family dinners. It's a time to connect with your kids. It's a time to find out how their day was. And that's something, it's hard in this day and age with everybody's schedule, but it's very important. And in my own family, we have family dinners almost every night. And if we skip for a couple of days, if my husband's out of town or if our schedules are really off, my own kids ask for it. They say, we haven't had a family dinner in a while. Really? They miss it. And it's not like you have to sit down and have a deep talk every night, but it's just that connection. How was your day? And you know, the funny jokes come in, and it's the more you do it, the easier it becomes. But it takes some work, and it takes some planning.
What are some good questions that parents could ask at the dinner table to draw kids out a little bit?
You know, one of the things that that I do with my own kids, not so much now because they're teenagers, and it's more flowing, is we do a high and low of the day.
Ooh, I like
that. And everyone does it, mom and dad, everybody, and that really helps generate conversation. around the dinner table.
Okay, good. That reminds me of an experience I had one time. And even when I'm traveling or something with somebody who's a little bit, you know, new to me, I might say, what did you enjoy best of today? What were your 3 highlights? And if you do that every day, pretty soon they say, aren't you going to ask me again what my 3 highlights are? They really do like being asked about things like that. I like that high and low, though. That's really particularly nice to me. I like that.
Yeah. Another thing that you can do is just, with your family, play games. Play cards or play dice. Just have fun with them. The more, what I've noticed is kids who are really connected with their parents are happier, more confident, have a lot of self-esteem, and they're able to take those risks in the classroom as learners as well. So play around, play games, and get outside. Go for a walk, go for a hike. The fresh air, once again, back to the healthy body, really is a nice thing. So all of those things the family can do.
So making sure the kids get 10 hours sleep a night, whew, that's going to be a challenge in itself.
It is a challenge, yeah.
Well, if you were going to summarize your classroom philosophy, how would you wrap it up for our viewing audience?
Well, my students are scholars, and I want all my scholars to take risks. I want them to be confident. I want them to learn to question. And I believe it's not what I teach them in the classroom, but it's what they do with it outside the classroom. Good. So how they take that. And I have students who go home and we've been talking about something in class, and on their own they'll do extra research. And they'll come back and they'll bring me a picture of something that we had talked about in a book and download it on the internet and bring it back in. So those kids who have that thirst for knowledge and who want to do more, that's what I want to instill in the kids.
That's great.
Yeah, just keep on, always be a lifelong learner.
Yes.
And you can do that through being healthy and being open and confident.
Good. Yeah. Catherine, you've been fabulous. This has been a great program. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
And thank you, viewers, for watching A Sounding Board. And thank you, Novato Public Access Television. And thank you especially my sister members, club members of Novato, of Seroptimus International of Novato. Thank you.